You're listening to a Soul One podcast.
Well, I just want to kick off this episode by saying a lesson to everybody out there. Do not watch Babygirl at 5 a.m.
Why?
Well, I didn't enjoy my 5 a.m. viewing experience. I don't know.
Because you were tired. I think it's more like, don't watch this movie while on an airplane or on a train. I don't think time matters as much, but could be wrong.
I think it's the 5 a.m. because this movie, I didn't know anything about this other than, Taylor, what you told me about the movie that last week, which you said like anti-Valentine's Day in some capacity. I didn't realize it was a straight up porno. Like, I didn't know that.
What? It's not a porno.
Okay, but this would be a good time to tell our listeners, listener discretion is advised. This is a rated 18. What is it? 18A, 18. I don't know.
It's 18A, isn't it? This movie.
I don't know how you describe that, but 18 plus. This movie is 18 plus. This movie deals with very explicit content with an explicit rating. So, if you listen to this show with your children. This was a very long time ago, Mike, but we did have a dad who used to listen to this show.
Maybe I shouldn't have thrown around porno that early.
So, if you're listening with your 13-year-old son or daughter, or younger, or even slightly older, just full discretion. This is a pretty explicit movie, and there's only so much finessing we can do when talking about it. We probably are going to have to mention some explicit things. So anyways, that's my little heads up for those listening. Pause, come back to it, or skip this episode.
Well, and we'll come back to this during corrections at the end of the episode. But yeah, also the third voice people are hearing is friend of show, friend of Taylor, Nicole. Welcome back, Nicole.
Hello.
Cue the applause and the firework noises, and
we need to get theme music for the people who come on regularly. You should each have your own theme music.
They should pick.
I'm so into that. I don't know what I would be, but I'm very into that idea.
Pin that for future. So for newer listeners of this version of our show, You Had Me At Skip It, Nicole is the reason why our show is called You Had Me At Skip It. She's the one who came up with the name, so thank you, Nicole. But also, Nicole is my best friend. I was thinking about this. We've known each other for 20 years, which makes me
more, I think.
So old.
We're hearing more.
Yeah, apparently. So we're older. I'm even older. Thank you, Nicole, for that. But Nicole used to be a semi-regular feature of our old show, Screening in Kingston, and you used to come on every year for TIFF. But I hope I'm not putting salt in a wound there, Nicole. You're no longer in Toronto. Is that painful?
I feel like September rolls around and just the cloud of sadness that comes over me now that I don't get to experience TIFF. However, Los Angeles is TIFF all year round here.
That's true. Yeah, you traded a 1 month thing for 12 months. So it is what it is. But do they still do online screening? Did they keep that after COVID, or did they completely eliminate online screenings for TIFF?
So they definitely kept it, but the unfortunate thing is it's VPN specific. So you have to have a Canadian VPN.
That's kind of weird.
Yeah, I don't know if they're doing it this year, but they've done it, since they introduced it in 2020.
And for people who live under a rock, TIFF is the Toronto International Film Festival, but not everyone is in the know. So again, you traded one film city for a much, much, much bigger film city. So.
This is next level. It's true.
Yeah.
I don't think this movie is a 5 a.m. movie. That's all I'm kind of trying to say. Is I feel strongly that I was not into this movie at 5 a.m. I was like, I don't understand what this is. I don't understand why we have to do this. Why do we have to watch this? Why are we making ourselves do this? It's 5 a.m.
I will say, Nicole, I've been very nervous to review this movie. This movie would have been very easy for a 20-year-old Taylor to review, but now that I'm going to be we're going to be 34, Nicole, this year, and I have a child. This movie is a little bit more difficult for me to review. Mike, are you ready to dive in? Are we?
Well, I mean, I just kind of want to know why you would say that specifically.
Yeah, I would also like to know.
Just because I've talked a lot about this on the show, and we've been doing the show for 6 or 7 years now. So my tastes have really changed, and I'm not afraid to admit it. I used to watch a lot more edgier, explicit content, even at the beginning of when we started the show, Mike. But I would say, even before that, you know what I mean? Like early 20s, mid 20s, very like prided myself on kind of having very diverse film interests, more edgy, whatever. And I have found that as I get older, those tastes have tempered, especially like sexually explicit content. And I've said it before on air that I feel like a prude now, and like I can't review like sexually explicit movies. So anyways,
I said that like
yes.
I never really knew why. Like I didn't know you felt that you've changed a lot over the past. I guess we've been doing the show for 7 years.
Yeah, people change. I also have a job where like, you know, I shouldn't really be talking about sexually explicit content. So there's like also that my employment has changed over the course of recording this show. So, you know, I just kind of have different interests, but then also professionally have to watch what I talk about. So for that reason, I've been like really nervous because this movie is, even though Nicole kind of guffawed when you said that it was a porno. I think this was less a porno than Anora. So
sure.
But yeah. So anyways, I knew it was sexually explicit. I knew that it was a relationship dynamic that would be difficult to talk about on a PG-13 radio show or a podcast show, I should say.
Yeah, that is true. It is going to be tough to keep our kind of rating this one. It's kind of the whole movie. I guess that's what surprised me. I just didn't know any of this. I didn't know what it was about. You know?
I think so. We'll save this for the end because I know Nicole's feelings on this, and I think, Mike, I might know how you feel, but this I would be interested to know if you consider this a snub, like an Oscar snub movie, because that's one of the reasons why we're talking about this movie. Nicole thought that I would enjoy it, thought that it was a very good movie of the year, and it, correct me if I'm wrong, was not nominated for a single movie single nomination.
I don't believe it has a single nomination.
Yeah, sorry, not an Oscar.
Not an Oscar, yeah.
Nicole, has it been getting any other buzz? I've seen Nicole Kidman out and about, so they must be campaigning, but was it nominated for anything else?
They were campaigning. It was nominated. It was snubbed by Critics' Choice. It was snubbed by SAG, and the SAG Awards are coming up on Sunday, but it was not snubbed by the Globes, even though it did not win. But
right.
But it's weird that Pamela Anderson was nominated for a SAG Award, but Nicole Kidman wasn't, and I have like big feelings about that.
That's really interesting. Did you mention BAFTA? Like, was it nominated for anything with BAFTA? Because I know that just happened.
Oh, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't pay as much attention to BAFTA as I do like SAG, for example. Like, I definitely pay attention to those. But BAFTA is also another, because I know I know Mickey Madison from Anora won the BAFTA.
Yeah, Anora is really taking, like, I think once we watch the SAG Awards, like the SAG Awards are always such an interesting like preface to the Oscars, right? And
yes,
Anora won the DGA Director Award, and Anora won for Critics' Choice Best Picture. So I'm like thinking that that's what it's going to be for the Oscars.
yeah, that is it. Is you're right? It's a really good kind of measuring point as to where things are. And I'm going to be very interested to see, especially with everything that's been happening around Amelia Perez, how that kind of shifts some of the voting. Because I do feel like that movie, with the amount of nominations it had, it was going to win some stuff, and I don't know how things are going to kind of shift and change. And Anora was one of the movies I was thinking of, like Anora and The Substance were getting a lot of buzz early on, and I wonder how much they're going to kind of come back into the fold here.
I just, having now watched this, I can't even reserve this conversation for whether or not I was snubbed, but I'm just going to dive in. To me, this movie was on the same caliber as The Substance and Anora. Like, am I crazy? Like, I thought this was a very well-made movie.
Yeah.
And I think it was definitely snubbed for Best Actress. I think Nicole Kidman was amazing in this movie.
Sorry, you're specifically saying Babygirl, in terms of its quality, is on a similar level that you would think to like Anora and The Substance. Like,
yes. Yeah.
Right. I agree.
Yeah. Even if like explicitness aside, like the sex scenes aside, because I know that definitely will not be for everyone. And just like Anora, my review of Anora was that it was a very good movie, but like I could have done with some of the explicit sex scenes. I think there would have been ways that you could film this movie that it wouldn't have been so explicit. Interesting though, this was, and Nicole, correct me if I'm wrong, a female writer and director. So I'm not going to tell her business. So if she wanted to, and that's another interesting conversation we can have about the female gaze and female empowerment and like a female's sexual journey that you often don't see on film. But anyways, if you were to like take out all of the sex stuff, even take out like the major, like say you didn't really necessarily agree with the script or the story, I do think this was Best Actress contender. Sound mixing was really good in this movie, at least in the one earbud that I was listening out of.
the sound mixing and specifically the score were both very, very good.
Very good, right? And like on par with The Substance. I think The Substance had really good sound mixing as well, and a good soundtrack. And I would say this could have been nominated for Best Original Script, because out of all the movies we've seen in the last couple of years, like she took a big risk. The woman, Nicole, do you know the name of this woman?
Yeah, her name is Helena Rain.
I think she took a big risk by putting this story out there. It was one of the more interesting stories of the year. So I think this movie was snubbed. You know how I feel, Mike, about directing. I don't really have a strong feeling about directing because I don't have the intuition to know whether or not directors are good. But I think, yeah, acting, writing, and sound mixing 100% was a snub. And Nicole, I think I'm going to hazard a guess that you felt similarly.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And this, like the score, not even like sound mixing, but the score, like I don't know, not to give it away, but like how the composer used a lot of the sounds from the actors for the score. I was like, yeah, love that. Super into that. In fact, I listen to it sometimes because I'm like, this is just so good. I've been listening to Father Figure like nonstop since I've seen this movie.
Like it is really creative and well done and enhanced moments and scenes without overtaking it, which I think is what scores should do. Like it was definitely really well done. And I certainly would agree that would be a snub for this film, where the sound mixing was really good, certainly better than Wicked's. The score was definitely like well done, well put together, and well utilized. Like they utilized it in a way that, again, enhanced things. And I'm looking right now at the original score. Have not seen The Brutalist, but I have seen Conclave, Amelia Perez, Wicked, and now The Wild Robot. And I would say I would put this up there before some of those films. So I can see that.
I know it's an interesting thing. I wonder if because they were supporting the substance, because they put forward the substance, Anora and even Amelia Perez, that they were just like tapped out of female-centric stories and we're like, we don't need a fourth.
I don't know if that is necessarily it. I mean, it could be. Like, I mean, we all know what the Oscars are about. But I do think Amelia Perez specifically got a lot of nominations that I have a hard time understanding why. So I do think that when that happens, your spots start to get taken. Like really taken fast. Where like, well, Amelia Perez is in almost every category, so that's a spot gone. So there are some odd decisions here that I think also impacted it.
I have a hot take.
Oh, please. Hot take. Here we go.
The hot take is the following. I think that people don't like to see older women having sex. Like, I think that that's like a big thing. Oh, can we say that word?
Which, I mean, I'm making my corrections notes. It's fine. I'm making my.
I don't think that audiences like to see older women enjoying themselves, like explicitly enjoying themselves. I'm not saying that that's the only reason, but I am saying that, like, I don't know if you all have seen any of the comments online about this movie.
Oh no, I haven't seen any of the discourse. Nicole, fill us in.
It's not even like concrete. I mean, the discourse in general is everybody's obsessed with the father figure dancing scene, obviously, so much to be obsessed with. But like, aside from that, you know, if I was scrolling through Instagram and like scrolling through ads on like Reddit, because, you know, Reddit, and the comments on a lot of those like marketing posts are incredibly ageist and just brutal. Like, just brutal.
Isn't that the case with every single thing now? Like, someone somewhere, and a lot of them, will find something wrong and just brutally attack it. Especially if it's female led. But isn't that just like everything you said there doesn't surprise me? Not because, oh yeah, get that mindset, was thinking that myself. It doesn't surprise me because, yeah, I mean, it was a movie released in 2025 with some more, you know, it's content driven, and you have a older female lead. So I'm like, yeah.
Hold on though. I'm a little bit confused. Nicole, you're saying like the actual advertising that's on the platform is like advertising ageist products?
No, the
comments.
So like, you know how when you scroll Instagram and there's like an ad for a movie and you can look at the comments?
Yeah. Oh yes,
like
yes.
That.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
That's what I thought. You thought like not the studio, the people, the human being, the dumb people who are out there.
And I'm thinking like all of the ads are for like anti-wrinkle cream. I don't think the ads are ages. No. Oh, got it. The comments are ages.
But no, I knew where we were. I knew what we were. I
guess I'm with you, Mike. Like, it's depressing, but not surprising. That kind of vein of human experience. But 2024 was the year of quote unquote older, because like they're not really, like, Anne Hathaway's like in her 40s and she did one of these movies this year, but like quote unquote older women with younger men. And in fact, Nicole Kidman did a movie with Zac Efron already this year, not like to the level that this was explicit. Like, it was more a rom-com.
Family Affair.
Pardon me, Family Affair. Yes, I reviewed it.
Oh, right, you reviewed it. Yeah.
And so, like, I guess that's like, I think Nicole is right in the sense that it was okay when Anne Hathaway and Nicole Kidman were doing like rom-com, but to do like a grown-up movie about sex and like the woman.
I mean, to be fair, it's already been said, Taylor.
I didn't know.
I think we've earned an explicit rating already.
Yes, okay.
We can avoid that.
We haven't said the F word though, so we're okay. I think we're in the clear. But
you only get one of those, so let's be cautious, everybody.
So yeah, it's just interesting because I don't think, and again, Nicole, you are also chronically online like we are, so you might remember differently. But
I don't all chronically online.
Yeah, it's an issue. I don't remember there being a lot of backlash about the Anne Hathaway movie and the Family Affair movie. I think the backlash I saw about the Anne Hathaway movie was people said that she was too young to be playing the mom, even though she was playing like the age that she actually is, which is a whole other.
Let me ask a question.
Go for it.
So we got two examples. Okay, are we talking like hundreds of thousands of people are doing this, or like a couple hundred morons? Because one of the things I find a lot that happens is these individuals are loud, but not necessarily, there's not like a lot of them. It's just they're the loudest people in the room.
I'm sure that's part. I mean, like, I haven't seen truly, like, my letterbox is flooded with people like being like, you know, loving Babygirl, and then like, you know, reviews, everybody, like, you know, actual film reviewers are loving it. I'm just talking about just randomly the stuff that I've just seen commented on either marketing ads or like, you know how sometimes on Instagram there will be like an article and then they'll have a picture that go with the article and be like, click the link in bio, and then the comments underneath that photo,
right, like BuzzFeed.
Again, yeah, like, and for sure, like, I don't think it's the majority, but I do really feel like there is something to be said about an older woman having sex. Like, I just think that that's just something that in specifically North American audiences are very averse to. I think it happens a lot more in, you know, French film or like European film or like, you know, film not from North America. And I just think a lot of people don't like it yet. Like, it's not like it makes them uncomfortable, but I don't want to speak for everybody. That's just my impression.
Yeah, it's just, I guess the point I'm getting to is, does that get into the voting for these kinds of awards? And are the people who are voting for these awards, are there enough of them? Because in order to not be nominated for something, it has to be a lot of people who did not vote to nominate your movie. So that's why I ask, because I think it's important to think about it from the thing of like, okay, here's a theory, here's a hot take as to why this could be happening. Are there enough people to make that the thing? Because it's just, again, everyone's circles are different. Like, not online as much, but am not hearing that discourse. Anyone else I know who's seen the movie, that's not been brought up. I wasn't thinking about that. But you bring up a point of, but if enough people were in these positions to nominate and vote, then it would make a difference. Like, it would, if there were enough people. So I'm always interested to see, is the discourse a very vocal minority, which happens all the time, where the loudest people are always the negative ones. We are not a society that is built on, oh, I had a great experience, I'm going to go put a nice review on Google. But when it's a negative, you immediately jump to, I got to go tell someone, I got to put this out there, I got to do this. So that's what I'm wondering. Is it negativity because it wins out? Or are there so many people who are thinking and feeling this way, it's impacting it in some capacity? I think that's an interesting thing to think about.
I think you should look at the demographics of who's voting for the Oscars. How about what percentage of them are men? It looks like it's about 68%.
Something like that.
So, I mean, I think it's a valid point. I'm not saying that this is the only reason why this movie isn't getting what it should be getting, but I think it could be. I mean, we still have a patriarchy problem, not to be political.
I think Nicole does bring up an interesting point, and I'm wondering, I haven't read any of I don't know how the mainstream is embracing this movie. I haven't seen a lot. That's one of the things that's so surprising, is this movie is so good and it really hasn't made much of a splash in my algorithm. So that's interesting. Nicole, you're saying that viewers are liking, or not even viewers, but reviewers are liking this movie, correct? Mm-hmm. Like, that's what you're reading. So that too is so weird that, anyways, we could be here for till next year, trying to figure out how the Academy votes.
Well, I mean, we're never 100% going to know, but I do think it's an interesting conversation because I do think that, one, it's a good point of still the demographics of who's voting, because it's not an accurate representation of moviegoers. Like, that's just, it's a small subset. But that's the thing you have to keep in mind everywhere. Reddit is a small subset of people. And my experience from what I've seen is there are certain platforms that drive that kind of personality. And that personality to me wouldn't represent me, so I wouldn't want to be lumped in with it, but I also know it's out there, and it would be naive to say it doesn't get into the minds of the Academy voters or some of these other ones. And I do wonder to what percentage it's, I legitimately had issues with the film, or I have a problem with the content and I don't like exactly like what Nicole brought up, or it as well, I do think Emilia Perez took everything. And so much space got occupied by this film that now everyone seems to be regretting putting in there. But it's, it's not a superior movie. Like, Babygirl is definitely a better movie than Emilia Perez. So that makes me kind of question the whole thing as well. Yeah. Like, why is it going this route?
We all know the Oscars are a certain flavor of opinion.
Yeah.
and it's not always correct. I mean,
it's not the be all and end all of the movie world for that year, right?
No, not at all.
No.
So, Mike, obviously Nicole and I are kind of raving about this movie, I think it's safe to say. And I do want to talk about the young guy who plays the love interest, if you can say that. I don't know, Nicole, you'll know his name, I'm sure.
Harris Dickinson.
Who's he? Like, where did he come from? But
he looks really familiar.
Before we get into that, Mike, I'd love to hear your thoughts of the movie, aside from the fact that you don't think you should be watching this at 5 a.m.
But yeah, like, I don't really want to get fully into it. I just, like, my sort of problem with the movie is I'm a big fan in arts in general of, like, earning moments. Like, I'm always a big fan of, like, you earn the emotional moment. I bring this up with, like, sad things all the time. You tell me something sad, it's not good enough. You can tell me the saddest thing happened to this character. It's not good enough. You got to show me. You got to make me care about the character. Show me the sad circumstance. Build up to it, and then you earn the emotion at the end of it. The like, sexual content of this film, I just never felt I was even, like, connecting or understanding where we were going, or understanding, like, the motivation behind it, which made me a little lost as to who these two characters principally were. At least the two main characters, and I didn't really care so much about her husband and family, but in focusing on her specifically and this younger guy, I was like, okay, this is interesting. I'm more intrigued by what's going on here, but I just never felt, even like watching Anora that you bring up, Taylor. Yeah, I think more explicit content, but they had a style and an approach, and because of the way that film was, comedic timing and cuts and ways to do it where, like, I don't know, I guess I kind of got it, what the director was going for. But in this film, I was a little more lost and a little uncertain as to what I'm supposed to be taking away from this. And even though I agree with everything you both said about the quality of the film and the acting performances, I just thought, like, this is not just hitting home the way that some of these other films had. So that's why, do I see it as an Oscars snub across the board? No, but most of the categories you brought up, actually, probably, yeah, it should have been nominated. So that's kind of like my overall feelings of the movie in general.
Now it's time for my hot take, and Mike, you're gonna absolutely hate this because it goes against.
Do you want me to get my corrections?
I feel like I know what you're gonna say.
I feel like, and maybe I'm just taking crazy pills. I feel like this was a movie for women, about women, by women.
I knew you were going to say that. Because every time, let me just say, every time I've been on this show,
smiled so much watching that movie, Nicole. Like I thought this movie was so funny and so smart.
Same, literally same. Okay, wait, but Mike, and I have to apologize because I feel like I always, like, Mike and I always butt heads because unfortunately I will say to you, and I've said this to you like multiple times, and I don't know if it's really appropriate, but I'm always like, Mike, this isn't for you. Like, you don't have to understand.
No, and I agree that I don't have to understand, but then to me it fails as a film.
And like, that's
always my approach.
And
right?
I knew that's why you would hate what I was going to say.
I can sit here and bring up other movies and ask you both, who is this for? And you would say, not me. Like, you would say something that is not me. And yet I'm able to connect and enjoy them somehow. And I think, to me, that is principally when creating art, a thing that you can do and you can do well is, even though you're targeting a specific audience, which again, I don't personally agree with, but I know that that's something that we talk about. I know that it's brought up in a lot of circles. It's a very common thing to say, where this is our target audience, this who needs to fully understand. No, I don't have to understand something to be able to appreciate it. So maybe understanding is not what I'm going for, but there are other elements that I still think are missing that make you able to, like, oh, I still really enjoyed this experience, and it made me think, it made me do this. I mean, whatever you get out of art. And I think that the film missed it. So that's my opinion on just arts in general, which is why I don't like the target audience thing.
I don't have a rebuttal because I just know that's how you feel, Mike. And I knew me saying what I was going to say was going to not, you weren't going to agree with it. So,
well, yeah, I mean, but we can disagree, and that be totally fine, because it's an opinion-based thing. Arts, exactly. It is difficult to judge good art. Like, it's personal, and it's connected to the way you feel, the way you connect. It's not wrong. None of our opinions are wrong. They're opinions. They're just coming from our perspective. It's just, you and I disagree on this particular thing, but that's totally fine. There's still value to what you're bringing to the table. It makes sense what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. We're just on different sides of it.
Yeah, that's there you go. So this young guy, we'll just pivot now. And we'll talk about.
Wait, hang on 1 second. Wait, can I ask Mike? Can I ask you a question?
You can.
Okay. Have you ever felt deep, deep shame about a part of yourself?
Yes.
Oh, really? And
this movie, okay. Yeah, this movie's for you.
Yeah, that I feel like this is textbook of that. I mean, it's like, like, there's parts of yourself that you're just so, even with the most, like, the closest people to you, you're so reticent and deeply ashamed to even say them out loud and to, like, express them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a human being, so of course. Like, I feel like that is that not part of the human condition in some capacity, to have those feelings and thoughts, even if they maybe are not as strong or everlasting in life. Maybe they can be fleeting, or they can be dealt with in different ways. But I do feel like, yes, I would say that I've related to that feeling at times, and I think that that's something that is certainly in this movie.
So you just don't feel like whether it be the writing or the acting, you just didn't think that conveyed that emotion. Like, to me, like, that was
maybe
the main
writing, though.
Pardon me?
I do like, maybe I think I did like the writing, though.
Okay.
Like, I don't think it was a script problem. I don't think that was my issue. I think it was more an execution problem. I think too many times in the film, I sat there going, wouldn't it be better if you did this? Or wouldn't that be more impactful if it went this way? Like, the writing was pretty superb. Like, I never felt there was a moment in the writing where I was like, what? Like, it was always like, oh, okay, good. That's interesting. Ooh, that's an interesting way to put that. And the performances were good. Like, I won't deny that. They were both excellent.
Then I don't know. So it's a directing problem.
Maybe.
Has she directed other things, Nicole?
Yeah, Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
Very yes, movie. I've seen that. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, she did that one. But she was an actress for a really long time. And in fact, she was in a Paul Verhoeven movie in, like, the early 2000s, I believe, like 2006. And you can totally see the influence in this movie, like, that Paul Verhoeven kind of style of psychosexual drama thriller, which I don't even think that this was a psychosexual. Like, that's another hot take. I don't feel like this was a psychosexual thriller. Like, I think it was just
a drama that happened to be about sex.
Yeah. And like power dynamics.
So Nicole and I chatted about this on the phone a couple of weeks ago now, and it definitely was marketed as a psychosexual thriller. So very much like 9.5 Weeks, even that movie with the rabbit that I'm forgetting, Fatal Attraction, I think is the name of the movie. So definitely, but 9.5 Weeks I think would be the closest thematically, and I also want to pat all of us on the back. We've done a very good job of keeping this episode PG given the main plot point of this movie. So good for us. So I thought it was going to be very much like 9.5 Weeks-esque. Nicole and I chatted and she went, no. Like it looks like that in the advertising, but it really isn't that. I think this movie is exactly what Nicole, her question to Mike was about. It's about a woman who has deep, deep, abiding shame about a core tenet of her personality and how she explores that over the course of the movie while trying to navigate her identity as a mother, a wife, a CEO, or like a COO, whatever her job is. And so, yeah, like if people, I don't know, that's how I feel. Like, yes. And that's why I think I could have done with less sex in this movie, because I think it had a lot of interesting things to say about power and desire and identity and shame. Yeah. So anyways, I thought it was a great movie, but I definitely don't think it's for everyone, much to Mike's chagrin. And Mike would say that means the movie has failed. But I don't think the movie did fail. I just think it's not for everyone. It's kind of a unique movie out of the 2024 year.
I will make a case for, I don't know if you could have done without the explicit, like specifically, I'm thinking of the motel scene. That to me feels so pivotal. I mean, I'm not going to give anything away, but like the awkwardness and like they're trying to figure something out and how that kind of carries through the rest of the movie. I think that using sex as like the lens with which we're looking at this, it's just so relatable to keep it, like, to use that, because it's not always hot, like like it's not always, and I think that's what this does so well, when they're kind of like, what are we doing, like
trying to figure it out. And I think that's where a lot of the humor comes through. Like, I thought Nicole Kidman was so funny.
Funny.
I don't know if she's been in a lot of comedies, but her timing is very good.
Yeah, I agree.
Mike, did you find the humor, or are you like, what are these girls talking about?
Closer to the second one. I mean, I didn't laugh. I don't remember laughing. I don't remember. I'm trying to think if I ever laughed in this movie. No, I don't think I did. I think that, like, and again, it's so interesting that we're talking about this, and I seem on such a different side, but the points you're all bringing up are also some of the positives, like that particular scene, Nicole, that you're talking about. That was a well done scene. Like that was well executed. It worked. I have no problem with that scene. Like it was well done. It worked. I think there was something about the entire package of the film that didn't work for me for whatever reason.
Mike, I wonder if you just weren't willing to go there at 5 a.m. I wonder if you would put this movie on at 9 p.m. if you were willing to.
So maybe what the experiment is, okay, rewatch time, 9 p.m., regular movie time, weekend, throw it on, and see if the feeling changes. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Really change up the atmosphere.
Because it sounds like you were a little clinical at 5 a.m. or like groggy, and like you were just like, oh, this sex, but there was more to the. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I just think that 5 a.m. maybe, like you said, it wasn't the opportune time to watch this movie. You weren't willing to go deep. And I think most people shouldn't be watching movies at 5 a.m. You're certainly not giving the movie a fair shake. I know you're very busy, Mike, and that was probably the only time you could fit this movie in. So I forgive you. But I don't think anyone should be watching movies at 5 a.m. in the morning.
Because we're doing a bit of a short episode, and there's something that we've got to fit into this episode because our Oscars pool is now up and live. So we need to announce that and talk to it. So before we get there, just to kind of wrap up the conversation around this movie, we kind of already answered the main question that I had about Oscar snubs and where we kind of felt that. So if we can just give a quick kind of wrap up on each of our thoughts of the film and give it our ratings, that'll kind of put a nice bow on Babygirl. I guess we kind of just dove into the review. We didn't even start it, but I think we've gone through a lot of it. So I think we can.
I think because I was so nervous. I was like, oh, just get it over with.
You did. Actually, you know what, Taylor? I think you did start it too. You just like, and now we're talking about it. Nicole, go.
Totally. You're telling on yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Taylor, do you want to start?
Yeah.
Give your final.
I'm like,
just so just get it over with. Get it done.
It's a see it. But I have to, again, with a huge caveat, this is between you and God if you sit down and watch this movie, people. Because it is explicit in content. But like Nicole and I talked about, I think it has really beautiful themes. But I think like Mike's experience is not going to be unusual. I think that this movie can be, because of the content, I think it can be alienating to a lot of people. So I think you have to be willing to go there and sit with some uncomfy feelings, and also maybe like be willing to like close your eyes during some explicit parts. But to me, like, it was 100% a snub. Like, I am so having, again, like comparing it to Anora and The Substance, this movie to me is like the trifecta. Like if you were to like, yeah, it's like the Trinity movie, like of this year, those three movies. I think they explore similar but different themes in different ways. And it's shocking to me that it wasn't given, okay, like it's a stacked year for acting, fine. But that it didn't get original screenplay and it didn't get best score and sound mixing, to me is a snub 100%. So all that to say, see it, but with a huge caveat that it is very sexual in nature.
So I'll go next so Nicole can go last, so we sandwich my comments in between both of yours for protection purposes. So I thought the film was fine, but I would not disagree that the way it was constructed and the overall look and feel and even a lot of the nominees, I wouldn't necessarily say it doesn't belong in the category that you just gave it, Taylor, but I would still say a step down for me from The Substance and Anora. I did enjoy the performances. I did think that the movie itself has a lot of interesting things that it's explored. I just don't like the execution of it. And I still do believe that it's not about the content itself. Any content you can make work. It's just how you execute that content. And that's kind of what didn't really sit well with me. But again, maybe I will revisit this movie at 9 p.m. And maybe that's going to make a big difference. But I'm going to give it a stream it, because I don't think it makes sense for Airplane. And I think that I still don't think it's like worth skipping it. I still wouldn't go that far, but I'm going to give it a stream it. Go ahead, Nicole.
Well, if it's not already super clear, I am going to give this, I'm going to give this both a see it, and with the caveat of just be mindful of who you're seeing this with.
Yeah.
I think
this is not a first date movie, or alternatively,
is this a date movie?
Or alternatively, it's a first date movie to weed weed people out.
If you're a little freak, it's a first date movie. And I will also say, like, I think not only should you see it in the theater so that you're like, you can hear that score around you and you're in it. I think you should also stream it because it's worth a second watch and you're going to pick up on things that you weren't going, like that maybe you didn't notice before. And now you know how it's going to work out, so you don't have to worry. And then for those people who are worried that there's like some really wild things in this movie, I just want to say, like, all in all, it's pretty vanilla. Like, it's just pretty vanilla. There's not nothing super wild is happening in this movie. That's
I actually do. I agree with you on that. Actually, I don't particularly think there was anything that was super wild. But again, like Taylor makes a good point, right? You've got to know yourself. And Nicole, you just made a really good point. Know who you're watching it with, right? Know your audience around you, and that's also helpful for this movie.
I mean, I saw it on Christmas Day, and let me tell you, it was a great Christmas Day.
It is a Christmas movie. It takes place at Christmas, and there's a Christmas party.
And let's give Nicole Kidman a round of applause for introducing another hot Christmas movie to the canon of psychosexual Christmas thrillers.
Is that
I'm talking about Eyes Wide Shut?
Oh.
That's debated. That's debated whether it's a Christmas movie. Although she definitely has her niche.
Right? Like, good for her. You go. You do it. She's doing the thing. I love it. I'm into it. Let's go.
Okay, so before we end this episode, I just wanted to say that our Oscars pool is up and up on the website. So we've got it on all our social media platforms in the link in the bio for Instagram. We've posted it out on Facebook, but it is still screeninginkingston.com. So screeninginkingston.com. This is the last couple months of that, and then it'll change over. So go to screeninginkingston.com and you can go to the Oscars tab. You can enter the Oscars pool this year, fill out your ballot, and if you win, you get to come on the show or just produce an episode yourself and tell us everything you want us to talk about. You want more baby girl talk? Then there you go. That's what we're
baby girl talk. That's one of the corrections you're going to have to issue at the end of the episode, Mike.
Why? What's wrong with that? Talk about what?
Anyways, moving on.
Don't you mean good girl talk? Like,
no, what? No,
because it's not.
No, the movie is called. Is it a movie called Good Girl? I thought it was called Baby Girl.
No, but he said nobody says. Do they say Baby Girl in the movie? I thought they just say Good Girl.
Good, yeah. What I meant was
but he does say "You're my baby girl" in a scene. That? He does say it, but anyways, who's keeping notes?
It wasn't noting everything he was saying. Anyway, my point being that the Oscars pool is up. You can vote. You can find it on all of our social media. We will remind you each week as we lead up to the Oscars. But again, we're always hoping to get more and more entries each year. This is our 7th annual Oscars pool, so we're going to keep this going. Go to our website and check it out. All right.
I was just going to interject real quick, Mike, because my favorite segment of the show, which we haven't done in weeks and weeks and weeks, fan questions. We haven't forgot about you guys. We just run out of time. So hopefully we'll answer your fan questions next week. Keep writing in. And in the meantime, go see some movies. Oh, and thank you, Nicole, for coming.
Nicole, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yay! You're welcome. Thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure. I love this movie, and I love talking about it a lot.
Now, Taylor.
Go see some movies.
Thank you for listening to You Had Me At Skip It, a Soul One Arts Inc. podcast. This podcast is produced by Mike Shepard and Austin Spinner Summer. Is a project of Soul One Arts Inc. To learn more about Soul One and all the great work that Soul One is doing in the arts community, especially in film, theater, and other performing arts, visit soul1arts.ca. You can contribute to this podcast by visiting soul1arts.ca and going to the podcast tab. You'll find all the information on You Had Me At Skip It and how you can get your questions read on air each week. Thank you again for listening.